Okay, just like you can say that for like, Snuffleupagus monster. You argue against Bigfoot, but you are Bigfoot. See? I can do that too, right? I can play silly games too. Doesn't really do anything for you. Can God create a boulder he cannot move? That's seems like a malformed question. Are we alive by mere biological chance? Probably. You're calling me a god. Oh, okay. I can't tell these days if you're serious or kidding. Who built the pyramids? People. Yeah. No debate lives for a bit. I just gotta take a break from the debate nonsense. Have you ever been cornered in a debate? What do you mean cornered? I don't think I've ever lost a debate. Why quit debating? You steamrolled Parker. Well, I'm not quitting. I'm just look. It's a very mentally exhausting to debate. Okay, I know from your perspectives it seems easy, but it's difficult for me, mentally. All the stuff I have to deal with, it's not. It's very toxic. He loses too much. Have you always been an atheist? No. Well, technically, yes. Because I don't think a belief in God is actually ever warranted or logically valid. Do you not believe in any higher power? What's a higher power? What do you mean by higher power? A car, a plane, a rocket ship? What's a higher power? What is that? How long have I been vegan? For about 6 years. So you believe something came out of nothing? I don't know what nothing is. I don't know what that even means. What's nothing? I don't know. Have I felt more healthy ever since becoming vegan? Yes. Favorite vegan food? I don't like talking about food. It's just I don't care for food. There's like so many more important things on my mind than food. I use vegan products, yes. Why isn't God a valid reason? Well, it's not a valid idea to me. What do I like to talk about? Science. I love science. What is quantum entanglement? Well, quantum entanglement is the notion that instead of seeing things as being particles, so having definite states, and the quantum world things have wave functions. They're waves. And in other words, there's no definite position that these particles have. They're just in this weird superposition. And a wave function describes the probability of finding a particular particle in a given area. Now, quantum entanglement is when two different wave functions, they seemingly at first they're two different wave functions, two different particles, but there's a connection between these two things actually. And we found that certain particles, certain pairs of particles can be entangled. And what this means is that even though we see them as two different particles, they actually share the same wave functions. So no matter how far apart they are, if I'm, if I measure one particle to be in an up state, the other particle is going to be the same state. And if I were to measure the first particle, the state changes, because in quantum mechanics, every time you measure something, it changes. If I were to change the state of the first particle, the other particle instantaneously changes as well, no matter how far apart it is, seemingly defying special relativity, faster than light travel. But it's not really doing that. The reason why is because they're actually sharing the same wave function, meaning they are the same object. So there's a weird, it's called non-locality. It's a weird notion that no matter how far apart objects are, they actually are part of the same thing. And if you do something into one side of the particle, the other side's going to instantaneously change no matter how far apart away they are, even across the universe. It's a very strange phenomenon that changed the way we see matter and space. In fact, even Einstein himself didn't like this notion. He called it spooky. It is, but it's reality now. Thoughts on lab-grown meat? Well, it's not lab-grown. It's cultured meat. It's saying lab-grown is I think it's a very disingenuous word to use, because technically everything's lab-made. But cultured meat is taking stem cells and cells from animals and kind of like culturing them, making them replicate without farming. But yes, I do like the idea. I think it's going to be the bridge that connects us to a more organic world. Hypothesis about information paradox: loss of information close system due to honking. Information is never lost. Information is never lost. And there's a paper, ER equals EPR, which kind of actually implies that information, there's a holographic principle of the universe. So there are some physicists who think that information is always conserved inside of a black hole or inside of the universe somewhere. There's a two-dimensional layer of reality that is like giving rise to our three-dimensional world, kind of like a hologram. So the information stored, perhaps on the outside of the entire universe, all the information that makes up you and me, all the information that goes inside a black hole is conserved on the outside of the event horizon. So this is kind of like what the event horizon, with the holographic principle says. And in that sense, information is always conserved. It's never lost. Do I advocate for a utopian society? Well, what's a utopian society? It's what one person says is utopian, the other person might say it's dystopian. How do you gauge what's the best? To me, it's a world where there's more freedoms, more rights, more happiness, more peace. But again, it's all subjective. But I don't think there will ever be a perfect world. I think that there will always be struggle. There will always be people in pain, people suffering. There will always be struggle, I think, in some way or shape or form.
What's up, Max Burgundies?
Okay. I've never known you to be happy. You don't know who I am. It's very, very rude to say that you're not happy or you're depressed. You don't know who I am. All you see is my TikTok persona. You don't know who I am. I'm not just a TikTok person. There's a person behind me. Do you think us humans share a multi-consciousness? Possibly. No. I have a degree in geoscience. You guys are so rude, so toxic. People are so quick to hate. All right, this guy's done. Very annoying. You should go to bed. You should go get blocked. Thank you. That's ironic coming from you. When am I ever hateful? I'm almost never hateful to a person. To religion, yes. To your ideas, yes. But not to a person. Number one. Number two, if I'm ever hateful to an idea, it's always for a reason. Right? It seems to me that your comments are unwarranted. They're uncalled for. How did life begin? Well, there was no moment where life just began. Life is a process. Now, there were steps in between going from simple molecules like amino acids and proteins and lipids to going to something more living, what we call living. Now, there's a very blurry line as to what divides these two entities, because in fact, we still don't have a very good definition of what life is right now. It's still very blurry. But typically, what we mean by life is a replicating molecule, something that's sustaining itself energetically and able to metabolize and produce its own reactants. And this type of molecule took form of RNA 4 billion years ago in the oceans of the Earth. RNA is a molecule that contains nucleotides and specific types. And these nucleic acids formed in the oceans. Some of them form in space, some form in the oceans. And there was a chemical evolution that gave rise to RNA. It's a very complicated step. But we know to a good degree how it happened. It just takes a bit of science. Where did the molecules come from? The Earth. The stuff you're made of comes from the air around you. You're made of air. You're made of water. You're made of stuff from the earth, right? You're made of stuff that you ate this morning. It's all shared stuff that comes from the universe. It's not like, there's a special place where we come from. No, we are sharing, our molecules are shared. In fact, some molecules in my body probably come from your body or ones in your body. And the same could be said for every other being that's ever existed on the earth. Okay. People can't see that even 100 years ago we have evolved by our DNA. Yeah. DNA is a very amazing molecule. If I took half my brain and put it into a robot, would I control both me and the robot? No. No, this is where the sense of self comes in, right? The idea of a self is emergent. It's not you know tied to a molecule necessarily. It's just an emergent phenomenon. So if you were to split your brain would have you would have potentially two different personalities. So your personality would split into two. Um, and again, why? How would you even call it you anymore? It would be a different entity. Um, this is one of the reasons why I think the self is entirely delusional, or illusory. I forgot the word. Okay. Are you pro-Israel or pro-Palestine? That makes no sense. I'm pro-human. What is the strongest and weakest force in the universe? Well, one of the weakest is gravity. One of the strongest is, I believe, the nuclear force, or the strong force. Do you think humans possibly share No, I don't. I don't think we share consciousness. Is it possible? Perhaps. I don't see anything logically inconsistent with that, but I don't see physically how that's possible.
Hey Mike, I just wanted to ask you a question. Like, when it comes to like superposition and like qubits and stuff, like how does a computer like actually sort of make use of sort of superpositions? Like, how does it sort of read or like measure the sort of state of a qubit? Like, how does that work? Because like it's kind of difficult for me to sort of like grasp.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with it either, but what I can say is a typical digital computer works on bits. It only has
Two states, yeah.
a couple states at one time, but the thing is that the states correspond to transistors, right? So the transistor
Yeah,
spits out electricity that moves certain things in the silicon atoms in the chips, and
yeah.
that's how information spreads. Um, Electrons, but the bits, it's only one or two at a time. But a qubit can take advantage of multiple at a time, and it takes advantage of the superposition of it. So it can have multiple different states um, at one time. So the calculations are able to be done exponentially more fast because they're taking advantage of multiple states at one time instead of just one or the other, ones or zeros. Um, Other than that, I don't know much more about it. I'm not expert on that, but I can just tell you that's how they typically work.
Do you think like eventually, like, do you think AI could be integrated to some sort of extent with like supercomputers?
Oh yeah, absolutely, they will be.
You think so? But like, why? Okay, so I know you said you were in like that sort of experience in that sort of field, but like, do you know why we're not sort of integrating more things with supercomputers so far? Like, what's the kind of limitation there?
Supercomputers? Oh,
Like, what quantum? Like, that's what I
quantum
mean.
computers?
Yeah, when I say
Well,
super, I kind of I'm using it like interchangeably for.
our quantum computers today are trash because they can only operate in certain conditions. If a quantum computer moves even a little bit, the whole thing collapses. If it gets too warm, the whole thing collapses. It's a very delicate. It has to be very delicate,
Mhm.
and that's why we don't use them typically. They're only in specific laboratories around the world. However, supercomputers, the reason why we don't use them as much is because they're just too damn slow. We have NVIDIA producing its Dojo chips, or I'm sorry, Tesla's producing their own chips that deals with AI. So we're seeing it shift now with computer chips. Um,
Wait, when you
a lot of AI is GPU dependent.
yeah,
Uh,
why is that? Is that because like it's sort of like parallel processing? That's why like it sort of relies on GPUs more than CPUs because like it has like way more shaders.
Tesla's using end-to-end neural networking, which means they're they're inputting lots of images and videos into these robots and their
Mhm.
cars, and the cars are learning from those videos, right? So the computer has to generate or go through tons and tons of videos, so it needs
Mhm.
a very powerful GPU to do that. um, Modern CPUs cannot handle this. We need that's why NVIDIA is involved. Um, it turns out you don't actually need that much CPU power. It really comes down to visual power. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, quantum computers will be used in the future when it comes to ASI and things like that. It's going to be unfathomable to us today. What's going to happen in the
How,
future?
how do you think like sort of do you think that pose like some sort of like level of issue for like encryptions? Or no?
Some level.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like to what extent do you think it's gonna sort of impact encryptions? Like we have like
Yeah,
RSA,
it's
we
going to
have
be. Yeah, and unfortunately, it's if you have a quantum computer, it'll be you could instantaneously hack into any computer you want to in the world. However, there is something about superposition, about entanglement, that
mm-hmm.
can actually fix this. Because it turns out when you have entangled particles, they have to be. If the state changes, you know immediately if it changed. And so, if someone were to hack a quantum computer that had entangled particles in it, they would know immediately if it was being hacked.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you also wouldn't be able to. There's a whole reason behind it, but there are protocols we can act that would actually be safe to
Mm-hmm.
protect us.
Very interesting. I'm trying to think if I've got any more sort of interesting questions. Ah, damn. Okay, so wait, which sort of like model do you subscribe to when it comes to cosmology? Like, do you think it's like a sort of contraction and expansion, sort of like I forgot what the model is called. It's like the I don't know, like
Conformal cosmology.
yeah, because like I've heard you sort of say like you think the universe is like eternal, and like it's sort of
Well, when I say the universe, I don't mean our local universe. I mean everything, the
how
totality
do,
of all things.
how do we know what is like how do we know we have a local universe or
Well,
like
look, there's the idea of inflation, of internal inflation from Alan Guth, where he posited that there are pockets of a larger landscape. There's little pocket universes that can envelop, it can bubble up, and generate multiple big bangs all around us. There could be many different big bangs happening in different fields around us, and we're just one of them. And these bubbles can grow, they can pop, they can get smaller, they can collapse. But in the grand scheme of things, the universe that grounds all these bubble universes is infinite. The multiverse is always there. There's quantum fields are eternal. So it's the fields that make up these things are eternal. But our universe, what we think of as our universe, this little bubble of space time, is not infinite.
mhm.
And that's what I think. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Nobody knows for sure.
Oh, interesting. But like so within I don't want to sort of like mislabel them, but why is like an infinite regression still like sort of possible even within A theory? Which sort of like to my understanding it's like some sort of like a linear understanding of time. And B theory would be like a sort of like
Time. Well, time is always linear. The issue is, does
well
it pass?
what I meant is like under B theory everything's like actualized at the same time simultaneously, right? Like the future, the past, the present is sort of all
Yeah.
exist simultaneously. Yeah, so like if we talk about like time in a different sense where like the future isn't already like defined, um then how would the regression still be possible? That's what I don't get. Like what's the sort of like explanation people have?
Well, there are different types of infinities, and it's not just a temporal infinity. There could be all ways of understanding time, and where it's not necessarily passing, and not B theory. But yeah, I agree with you that if we view time as this thing with causal order, um,
Hmm.
then I would agree with you that there would have to be perhaps a time where it begins. But I don't know if that's scientifically feasible to answer.
Yeah, cause that's what I was confused about. Cause like when I hear some like certain people debating, they sort of like posit that even under like a theory, like a regression wouldn't necessarily be like impossible. So that's what I was kind of confused about. Um, Also, when we talk about quantum entanglement, right? What is the sort of like mechanism which links like a particle? Like what sort of like what sort of
Just the
allows
way
it
the
to?
atoms are, just the way the particles are generated. Photons, when they're produced, they can share similar states. They can be. It's fundamental. If you're asking the fundamental reason, why has this happened? We have no freaking idea, right? But we know how this occurs. We know how entanglement occurs, and we also know how entanglement stops.
How
But
how does it stop?
it has to do with um, interfering fields or interference of different fields in the environment. Um, because everything has a wave function. You and me have a wave function, right? And
Hmm.
the way when we interact with things, interacting with it breaks the entanglement because these fields can interfere with each other. They can commingle, and that kind of what decoherence is, a very general sense, but it has to do with how particles are generated. Um,
Right.
yeah.
So what's like the distinction between superposition, like where a sort of like particle is in like different sort of states at the same time, and entanglement? Like what's the distinction?
Well, superposition has to do with a particular particle being in a different state or field being in
Yeah.
it has to do with this wave function. Entanglement has to do with um, the mingling of two wave functions, and that's the difference. But
So
everything exists in super. There are some theories of quantum mechanics which thinks that everything is in a superposition.
wait, so when you say okay, so entanglement is when two wave functions are interacting, you said?
It's when two particles share the same wave function.
Okay, so all right, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Okay, so two
And,
particles.
entanglement has to do with energy levels. When energy levels are
Mhm.
very low, entanglement typically happens because it's the lowest energy state. In laws of you know thermodynamic laws suggest that that's where things want to be. They want to be in the lowest energy states. Entanglement is that state, typically. But when something interacts with something else, then that is going to be where you get T coherence. But it's way more complicated than that. But yeah.
All right, final question. Do you know like when you say two sort of fields interact and that sort of causes decoherence, um, what sort of like do we know the mechanism behind do we know the mechanism
We
behind
have
that?
no idea. We have no idea how quantum mechanics works. Nobody does, right? This is literally the edge of our understanding of reality. This is like the furthest we can go. Yeah.
So how do we progress by like just smashing particles together?
Well, mathematics and yes, we can build more particle accelerators. The bigger they are, the more energy levels we'll get to. Right. What we have to do is look at very high energy levels. The one at CERN is very low energy, right? But
Mhm.
we really need something as large as the damn moon, okay, to even get close to the energy levels that are required to understand a black hole. But if we could build a particle accelerator the size of the moon, we could potentially figure it out. Just that we don't have the resources to do that.
Wait, how would we like? Why do we need a particular energy level to sort of understand like a black
Because
hole?
when you smash particles together at very high energy levels, it disturbs the Higgs field. It disturbs a lots of space and time. And you can view what particles can come out of this. And again, in quantum mechanics, they're not really particles. Particles don't really
Yeah,
exist.
wave
Those are just
function.
approximations. In quantum mechanics, things are all fields. So if you can understand these fields by looking at what these particle accelerators do, then you can get a better understanding of what happens in a black hole or you know what space and time is. That's what we really need to be doing.
Mhm.
We just don't have that power yet.
I think we'll get there.
Oh
Like
yeah, we obviously, yeah, we absolutely will, but it's just gonna unfortunately take time.
all right. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate the sort of explanations. It's quite informative. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. So like I'm affecting other side of the universe. There could be something. You could be entangled with something. Probably not, because you're interacting with your environment highly. But yeah, it's possible. A lot of things are possible.
I'm sorry. I just got at the mental hospital. I'm so sorry.
Hey, Mo, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. How are you?
Good. I had a question about veganism. I'm not a vegan myself, but I admire you doing that. I had a question about oysters and your thoughts on the ethics of eating oysters or clams, crustaceans. I was reading that they don't have a central nervous system, so likely they wouldn't feel pain. How would you feel about uh, let's say somebody's 95% vegan, but the oysters are brainless creatures without a central
Yeah,
nervous
look.
system.
Yeah, when it comes to oysters and things like this, it's a very gray area. Uh, Many vegans say it's okay. I tend to think it's not okay for one reason. We just don't know for sure, right? What if
Yeah,
these shellfish do indeed can feel pain? I mean, they are still technically animals. It's possible that they could. Now, um, again, everybody's thresholds are different here, but to me, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to withhold my actions because I don't know for sure.
yeah,
Furthermore, I would say that eating shellfish is also environmentally dangerous. We are destroying the oceans. It's not good for the oceans at all. And that's another reason why I wouldn't eat it. Another reason is health.
right.
Today, we know that almost all of our shellfish, all of our seafood contains microplastics, heavy metals, all
Yeah,
kinds of dangerous things. And that's why those things are very dense in that stuff because the oceans are very toxic now. So I think for those reasons, I'm just going to say no. I'm not going to consume those things.
yeah,
Um,
that's fair. Um, uh, as a vegan, what would you recommend? When I try to not eat meat for a while, either I'm starving or my head is fuzzy. Do you have any recommendations on how to feel okay not eating meat? Is there a like I know tofu is a big part of the vegan diet, but is there
yeah.
something that helps you?
Learn everything,
Just
every
learn.
problem
Okay.
you have,
Yeah.
knowledge solves, right? Every time you have a problem, go learn. Go learn about what food and nutrition. Go
Yeah.
dive into the data. It's our responsibility to learn. I mean, no one's going to sit there and hold your hand and teach you until AI comes. It's not going to happen. So you have to
Yeah.
do your work. You have to do the work. And if you are a courageous person who has a bit of empathy in their body, they're going to do the work, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, thank you for doing the work. If you do it, I appreciate you, and just make sure you learn. I can't teach you everything every step of the way, but yes, I think that
That's true.
tofu and there's all kinds of great protein sources out there, and
Cool.
plenty
Yeah.
plenty of other vegans who are doing that.
I've tried, but not tried hard enough. So I'm going to keep working at it. But I had one more question for you. It's kind of a abstract one, but I was watching Dark Matter on Apple TV. I don't know if you read that book or saw the show. but it's like the fifth movie or show that I've seen science fiction that's gone into Schrodinger's cat, which I think is Hollywood's favorite sci-fi concept right now. Do you have a favorite scientific concept that you think could be utilized for future science fiction movies? Like, is there something that hasn't been explored yet? Parallel universes have been done. I don't know
I
if they're
think
out of
I think
ideas.
quantum mechanics is the next thing to do. But again, those are very abstract ideas.
Yeah.
But I think that you could potentially make a movie or a show from entanglement to these weird ideas.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Three body problem gets into that a bit too. I don't know if you ever read that, but I think you'd like that if you. I learned about. I think you
yeah,
came onto
I've
my
heard about
algorithm
it. It
from
seems like a
Interstellar.
terrible concept to me. I think it's a dumb concept. But yes, I've heard about it.
Cool. Well, anyway, nice talking to you, and yeah, no, thank you for the clarification on the oysters, and yeah, keep up the good work. I don't know how to leave these lives, so if you want to kick me out.
Okay, thank you. Yes, guys, everything has microplastics. The issue is that when it comes to shellfish, they suck them up. They Microplastics fill the ocean. They go into all kinds of you know uh, places where these fish eat. Right? These fish, they consume dead fish. Right? They scavenge, which those fish contain particles in them. So there are very dense um, areas where microplastics build up, especially in the oceans. Now, this water comes from the Fiji Islands. The amount of microplastics in this water is probably way less smaller than the microplastics in oceans and in shellfish necessarily, because they are just sucking it up. They're absorbing it way more. What was at the start? Well, when we say what was at the start, it assumes that there was a start. Maybe there wasn't a start. Maybe our idea of the universe having a start, like some Olympics game, right? Some Olympics race. Maybe there is no start to this. Maybe it always was. Why do we have to impose our human thinking onto the universe? Why must we do this? Maybe it doesn't have a start. Maybe the universe is more complicated than we thought it was. Why must we think the universe works like we do? Oh, it has a brain, it has a mind, it cares about me. The universe loves me. The universe loves me, right? There's nobody out there that fucking cares about you on this little piece of dust floating in the universe, right? There's no evidence of that. Why do humans have to always pretend that someone out there is looking out for them? Are we that weak? Are we that do we have that low of a self-esteem? They're scared. Yeah, that's why.
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering if you think morality is subjective or objective. And this is going to tie into your whole vegan shtick.
It doesn't. I know what you're trying to say, but it doesn't actually do that. Veganism does not care if morality is objective or subjective. It doesn't care. But yes, I don't think morality is objective. I don't even know what it even means for morality to be objective. But this has no bearing on the validity of veganism at all. Because veganism does not make a claim about metaethics. It only makes a claim about, our principles that we should follow. That's the only concerns of veganism.
Like the principle of like animal suffering.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
that makes sense actually. That's a good point. I also one more thing is that the video on time, wouldn't an infinite number of it was like the model of like a person. Wouldn't an infinite number, like how do we even conceive of a separate picture? Because if we take a moment, like a second, where I'm walking, couldn't you technically just divide that up into smaller and smaller and essentially infinite separate moments where like, maybe even just like an atom had moved, but you could keep going and going and going, and then you have an functionally infinite amount of moments within 1 second. So it's like, how could that? I feel like that seems like a bit of a contradiction. If there are infinite moments, like how could we even
That assumes, well,
make a
first of
time?
all, that assumes that time passes. We think of time as passing. From our perspectives as people, we think that time is ticking. There is a
Yeah.
second, just 2 seconds ago, 3 seconds ago, 4 seconds ago, right? That's not actually how time works, right? Time doesn't actually pass, necessarily at least. And this is what Einstein showed with relativity, that your future might be my past, depending on our coordinates in the universe. Why? It's because speed and motion can affect your understanding of what the now moment it is. Your gravity, space and time warps. So when you have warped space-time, when you have a black hole near you, you're experiencing different space and time than somebody outside of the black hole's gravity well, right? So the reason why you can't view time as passing is because time and space itself is warping all around us. You are warping space-time. I'm warping space-time. The space and time around me is slowing and speeding up depending on me passing through it. So it's a very complicated thing to say, for you to simply go, yep, time must be passing. Therefore, this philosophical notion of, infinity can't be. That's so ridiculous to me. I think that we should take into account relativity and these higher sciences that describe this tenseless version of time that you're just not doing, and
Well,
most theists are not doing.
I'm not a theist, but I don't see why time, like, okay, time is relative to the observer or object. I don't see how that means it's not passing, right? Like, if I'm in a black hole, time will still, actually, I don't know if I'm in a black hole, but if I'm like near a black hole, if I'm traveling near the speed of light, time is still gonna pass, like, to me normally, or like I'm not gonna lose my common sense notion of time
Right.
passing. It's just gonna seem
Exactly.
like to another.
Exactly. But there's something even more fundamentally wrong with that picture. Once you understand relativity, once you understand that your past can be my future, and you can paint this four-dimensional picture of reality called a 4D block. And in this 4D block, you can add time as a dimension of space and time. So you can be 4 dimensions. We view 3 dimensions, but time can be added to make a 4th dimension. And if we add the 4th dimension of time, you recognize that you can treat it very similarly to space in the sense that it's all there. And what we perceive as moving through time is actually just parts and slices of the universe that already were. And there could be some, in other words, when I move my hand this way, okay, this is very difficult to explain without graphics, but if I move my hand this way, it seems like from my perspective that my hand is moving through time. However, if we take into account the 4th dimension of time, you recognize that there was a stack of hands before me. So there is a long structure of hands that exist in the universe. It's all there, all the time. What we perceive as moments in time are actually just little bits of a larger structure. So when you understand that, you recognize that there could be a lower dimensional reality out there that's kind of projecting what we view as time. Or there could be some kind of more fundamental quantum mechanical reason why we think time is passing. Perhaps there's a shifting of quantum states happening that we perceive as time. Look, the point is that time is a very, very difficult thing to grasp. And for you to say, no, it must be passing or no, or none, it doesn't make sense to me. Therefore, it's not true. That's a very, very ridiculous thing to say.
Well, I don't think it's ridiculous to say that. How are you even quantifying a moment in time? Like you're saying there's many hands. How there should be an infinite amount of hands because there's,
There could be. There could be.
but I feel like actual infinites don't exist in the world.
Well, I'm sorry, but I feel like it is not a good argument.
Well, I'm saying like it seems like a logical impossibility that there would be an actual infinite.
Why? Why is it impossible for there to be an infinite amount of time as a structure?
Because then we couldn't, like if you're talking about humans as synthesizing an infinite amount of moments, that seems like it wouldn't make sense. If you're,
That's a tautology. I'm sorry, sir, but you haven't shown why it's impossible. Can you give the contradiction?
yeah, an infinite amount of, like an infinite amount of things, or an infinite amount of hands moving before, or if you have like an infinite amount of moments while A happens, before B happens, B should never happen.
Again, you're assuming ethery. You keep question begging.
Okay. Yeah, okay. But
You're not understanding.
sure.
Look, have you seen my video on time?
No, the one where you did the guy moving?
No, on my YouTube channel. Go check out my YouTube channel
Yeah, I mean, also though, I'm more skeptical
and
about like,
and go learn. You don't understand the concept of 4D block. The
yeah,
4D block.
I'm also skeptical that like general relativity or the bending of space and time tells us what is actually there. Like, I think it's more of a useful, like a very useful model to describe reality, but I'm not sure why we should take the theory to be literally true or why we should.
Nobody said it. Nobody said that we must take it to be true. What we're saying is that it's a very plausible idea, which explains a lot about our world. It's not perfect, and we know it's not perfect, but it does a good job in challenging the Aristotelian view of time, of causality. Right? Einstein changed our perspective on this a bit. He shifted things, and that's something important to take account of.
Yeah, but then you're using it as if it were definitely, or I guess you're saying.
No, I'm not. I
if-
could be wrong, but again, it doesn't matter if I'm wrong or right. What matters is it a possibility? And it is. What I'm telling you is possible. It's not. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying it's possible. That's all.
Okay, I mean, like a lot of things are possible though. Like,
Oh, okay, great. Then that's exactly how we're supposed to operate logically, right? If it's possible, you can't discount it.
yeah, but I mean, like, why you ever like you can never reach full proof? Like, why? Not something is always going to be like metaphysically possible. Like, I could
Well,
just
that's irrelevant to me. What's relevant to me is, if it's possible, then we have to, recognize that it's possible. If it's not, it's not. There are some things that are not metaphysically possible, like a square circle, right?
yeah.
It's
Well, I
not
mean, like,
possible.
I can make a TikTok video being like, it's possible that the universe was created last Thursday, but
Okay, great. Then do it.
but
I'm not going to stop you.
it clearly seems like you're like no one's gonna make like. I guess that's kind of like an interesting thought experiment. So I see what you're saying, but I feel like
Look, sir. We just don't have enough data to make any assessments on the nature of reality yet. We just don't. Right? Time is still a mysterious thing to us. Time and space are still one of the deepest mysteries of our world. We still haven't figured those things out.
yeah, but again though, I'm not sure why like a model that is meant, at least I take science as meant to predict observable phenomena. Like why would we? I'm not sure why we would use that as thinking that it could even in principle possibly be real. Like I feel like
No issue with it. There's no inconsistencies within relativity. If you can point one out, go ahead.
I'm not. There doesn't have to be for my point to stand. Like,
Well, then it's a very valid idea.
but it's just like meant to like you can't say if space and time are actually like I'm saying that's not even like the theory's not even saying if they're actually curved or not. It's just saying, okay, when we, you know, have all of these models that say space-time is curved, I mean, and then we apply them to what we empirically,
It's just a model. It's just a model, sir. All we have is models. We don't know with absolute certainty what the world is about. We have all we have is models, and relativity is one of the best models we have. Quantum mechanics is the best model we have, but relativity is still a very good model that describes a lot about space and time. It explains and predicts many things that we observe. That's why it's a scientific theory.
yeah, but okay, of course there's a possibility that it's real, but I'm saying even if there are no flaws, like that wouldn't mean that it's real, and I guess you would just agree. So I
I
mean,
agree. I agree. It doesn't. Relativity could be wrong,
and it can make
but
every
that's
prediction
irrelevant to
correct.
scientists. Scientists don't care
Yeah.
about that. What we care about is what's the best explanation.
Okay.
If in the future something better comes along, great. We stop relativity and we move on. Right. That's how science works.
Yeah, so then can science ever tell us like I don't think do you think that it could be a possibility that science could ever tell us what's actually out there?
What do you mean actually out there?
Like for example, if a theory was a theory of everything was around that predicted every observable phenomena perfectly, would
Okay,
you
yeah,
be
I don't
committed?
see why I don't see why it couldn't be the case that we have a theory of everything one day.
Yeah, but then like for example, if that theory posited that space-time curved, would you then say that space-time actually curved or just that we say space-time curves and that correlates to phenomena very well?
I don't see the difference between those two statements.
Because the one statement
I
is
think to me,
committing
truth is what describes and corresponds to reality. I don't see a difference between the things you just said.
one is committing to the like the ontological realism of a thing such as space and time curving and then creating x y and z phenomena that we observe, and the latter is just saying okay we have this model which
All
could
I look, I think all we can do as human beings, the best we can do is models, logically or empirically. I don't think we'll ever have epistemic access to any absolutes about the
okay.
world, ever. I don't see how it's possible for us to be outside of ourselves.
No, that's valid. Yeah, I was just trying to. So okay, I see what you're saying. I guess, but then, I mean, it is a bit. I mean, I guess it's fine because like I hate when people try and justify like things because it makes them feel bad. Like I think that's completely not secular, but it is a little annoying that like we're always going to be clouded in such uncertainty. But like it makes sense, and you are being consistent here. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
What's today's discussion?
Whatever you want it to be. You have a question?
Okay. No, because usually when you talk about why you're not vegan and things like that, I don't know if that's what you want to discuss or whatever. I'm just bored. So I guess yeah. So So I have a question for you. Do you believe in that morality is objective or subjective?
Subjective.
Okay, so do you agree that, like probably at this exact moment, Australians, Aboriginal people, having intercourse with 15 years old, can you prove that's wrong? Can you prove objectively that that's wrong?
I don't think anybody can, sir. That's why I'm a subjectivist.
Okay, so why then you're why are you saying then that everybody should be a vegan and that it's wrong to kill animals for food? Why?
Well, when I say go vegan, what I mean is if you agree that animals should not be harmed, then you should be vegan, right? It would follow, it would be consistent within your ethical framework. If you thought animals should not be harmed, then you should not harm them, right? That simply follows to me. So that's why I argue for veganism. I'm never saying that, oh, veganism is the objectively right thing to do. No, that is never what I'm ever implying. What I'm simply doing is testing your ethics, seeing if you're consistent, and debating your framework, not mine. I know my framework already.
Correct. Okay, so you're basically, so what's, so you're trying to basically debate people or convince people that they might have your same ethical perspective
Right,
and questioning them, like, why are you vegan, right? Or
right,
things like that.
right. I'm seeing if they will follow their own beliefs correctly and consistently.
I see. Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree. Um, for the most part. Okay. Um, what else? You guys were talking about, I think, evolution.
No, but do you have a question before I kick you?
No, just basically, just wanted to comment something that I'm not really. I think I'm more like an agnostic. I feel that, but I want to like I want to believe that there's a God. But if you ask me, I'm not 100% obviously sure. But I think it's for most people, right? Like, this is why I tell my Christian cousin, like, if you were 100% truly, like, this is just like,
Hi, how are you? What's your question today?
Uh, well, I'm a guy. Do you think UFOs are like possible, like from extraterrestrial origin?
Do I think UFOs are possible from an extraterrestrial origin? Okay. Um, of course, I think they're possible. I don't see why they couldn't be possible.
Do you think that's what's going on right now?
I don't think there's any good evidence of aliens on Earth today. I don't think there's any good evidence. There's evidence of UFOs, and UFOs can be anything. I mean, that was UFO right now. Right? I just threw a thing and you didn't know what that was, right? That's a UFO. So anything could be UFO. The issue is, what does it come from? Is it are there actually aliens from other planets? Well, that question I don't think could be answered today. We don't have enough data.
Alright.
It's possible.
Do you think the UFOs can have a non-human origin?
Yes, it's possible. Yes.
You don't think that's what's going on?
I don't think so. There's not enough evidence to make an assessment there. If there's evidence of aliens on the planet Earth, great. If not, then there is no evidence. Okay. I would love for there to be aliens on Earth. That'd be great. That'd be sick, right? Knowing that there's other species out there that are perhaps looking out for us. Like, hey, you guys, here's some technology. Go use it, right? That'd be great. But I just don't see any evidence of that.
What about like people claiming that it's being kept secret?
The Clinton administration in the 90s couldn't even keep a blowjob secret. How the hell are they going to keep aliens secret?
Because it's
There's
the
no way. I
biggest.
don't think they're going to keep those things secret. First of all, second of all, if they really had aliens, what's the issue in raising this to the public? Why would they hide it? Why would they?
Probably technology.
I mean, eventually they would get out somehow. They're aliens for damn sakes. I mean, they're not like prisoners. They're not. I
Yeah,
don't think the U.S. government has them imprisoned. I think
yeah, I think it
aliens.
would
If
be
they
more
came,
to like.
look. If they came from another damn planet, light years away. Okay, the closest planet is light years away from us. There is no way that they're going to come to Earth and just go, okay, government, you got me. Put me in your prison. Keep me secret. I think that's ridiculous. I think if they're here, nobody really understands them. Uh, Not even the government.
Oh
So I
yeah,
don't think the
I
government's
agree. I
smart enough
agree.
to keep them secret.
Yeah, what if they want to be kept secret? I'm sure they're smart enough to be kept secret by themselves.
The aliens, yes, but not the government, not the U.S. government. And by the way, why is it so? Why is it almost everything always the case that the aliens are hidden from the U.S. government and not the other governments of the world, the other hundreds of governments? Why is it always the U.S. government that's keeping the secret?
I mean, I don't think it is. I think it's all countries, all nations.
Really? So you think you think every government in the world is in this co-conspiracy
Uh,
with aliens, even
if aliens are here, how did they get here? Probably with like warp drive.
yeah, good question. I don't know how they would get here, but I can tell you that
Um,
they'd be a heck of a lot smarter than us.
right, right. But if they're here, we can assume that they have warp drive, at least.
They have something
So,
like that, sir. They have something like that, probably. Okay.
so do you think if we had that technology, it would just be disclosed, just like that?
I don't think we'd be able to understand their technology, even if we had it, right? Look, imagine this iPad, right? This iPad is very complicated. It has technology, aluminum, and chips, microchips, right? It's a computer in there. Imagine an ant walking along this iPad. Do you think the little ant knows what this iPad is, how it works?
Nah, of course not.
No, right? Yet the ant is standing right on top of it, right? It's like in its face. Yet the ant has no idea what an iPad is. It seems to me like we are the ants to the alien technology. We could be right in front of alien technology, but it'd be so advanced to us from our eyes. We see it as part of nature. We see it as just stuff that's there. Maybe we don't even see it at all. So to me, I think that if there are aliens and they're that advanced, we're not going to be able to understand their technology. And the chances that aliens that have technology that we would be able to understand is so freaking small to me, in my eyes, that it probably will never happen.
Okay. Um, damn. All right.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I think that's it. Thanks, man.
Great. But I won't believe in God. I don't believe in aliens. And God, well, if you think your mom is God, of course God's real. God is just a word. It's a very, very useless word to me, confusing word to me. You ask 1,000 people what God is, they'll get a different answer every time. You get 1,000 different answers. It seems like God is just a word that people use to make him, to make them feel better. So, okay. Any other questions?
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I've been seeing your TikTok lives for a while, and I saw you just said about how God only makes you feel better.
Yeah, when you believe in God, it makes you feel comforted from the harsh reality that you live in, right? Oh, I'm suffering, my family passed away. Let me believe in God, it makes me feel better. And that's understandable.
Well, just like TV, just like anything else that
Yeah,
happens to you.
things make us that I understand why people believe in God. The issue is the belief in God is unwarranted, logically speaking, empirically speaking. There's no evidence of God at all to me. There's evidence of TVs, no evidence of God.
Yeah, but it goes more beyond to just make you feel better. It also helps society not harm others. Doesn't mean people use that without like well use that for harm. Just like if like it helps like for most people, for most Christians especially, like helps in the moral sense to not do immoral things.
I would argue that religion actually does more harm than good. And a lot of the harm you don't even see as a Christian or theist. a lot of the harm that theists cause, they don't even understand when it comes to the LGBT community. A lot of theists just dismiss a whole group and sector of people because they don't recognize who they are because of their blindfolded the beliefs that they have. They're blindfolded to these issues. So I would argue that there's actually more problems with believing in God than there isn't.
Well, just like science can actually cause harm also.
No, science
Yeah.
itself does not cause harm. Sure, there are people who can use science to do bad, but
Yeah.
overwhelmingly, science is used for the good. Number one. Number two, overwhelmingly, religion is used for the bad.
Well, religion can also be like people justified slavery with religion, but that's not what religion was saying. Just like what
Yes, it
science
is.
was. No,
Yes, it is.
just
Absolutely,
like
it
what
is.
science was saying about African Americans being less intelligent. That's
No,
not
what science was that? Do you have a study on that?
study of that. Like you know about like how scientists would say that African Americans' skulls or like something to do with their skulls were a lot smaller than or a lot smaller, like weren't as intelligent as white people. People use science.
Provide me one scientific study that says what you're saying is
You
true.
never
Give me one scientific study. Do you think there'll ever be progress in string theory? Yes, I do. Sir, are you going to bring out the papers soon? Just come back when you're ready. I don't want to wait 6 years for this. Hello? Science is wrong a lot, but religion's always wrong.
How is religion always wrong?
Well, because it's a book that talks about snakes, talking donkeys, flying horses. It's all wrong.
Well, it goes beyond
Science
just
science
it goes
makes
beyond,
predictions, and sometimes it gets it wrong, but it is a self-improving thing. It's always improving. Religion
just
will
like the
always be
Bible.
correct.
Just like the Bible. Bible is more than just more than a surface level thing. You gotta actually read the Bible and actually understand what it's trying to tell you instead of just looking at it just as such a surface level thinking. You're not really trying to understand it. You're just judging it before you actually try to read the Old Testament or New
It
Testament.
doesn't
It's not
change the
just
fact that doesn't change the fact that that it's just a story at the end of the day. The Bible is a story that will always be incorrect because of the things that it contains are just words on a piece of paper. Science is not just words. Science isn't just people saying things. Science is backed by experimentation. There's a method. There's predictions made, right? There's a method in behind science. That cannot be said for religion.
well again why like you would also say that why is there evil in the world when God exists? Well, there's also God also gave us free will. That's one thing. And another thing,
Prove it. That's the claim you're making. I don't have to accept that claim.
that's
There's
not
no evidence
claim.
of
That's
free
a
will.
true thing. That's a true thing in the Bible. God gave us free will. It's not just a
Oh, so now you're using the Bible to back up the claim from the Bible. That's circular, sir. Don't you
how is it
see?
circular when I'm answering a question that was asked? How is it circular when I actually give you
Because
evidence?
in order to answer the question I asked you had to resort back to your claim. Right? So you made a claim from the claim, and you're using the claim to back up the claim. That's entirely circular.
How is okay? So I just said that when people ask why is there evil, and I said because God gave us free will. That is you asked or someone asking a question, I gave them a answer
You're
that
not
is in the
see,
Bible.
and now you're so blinded by your religion, you can't see the folly in this. The issue is that you're using the Bible to justify this claim. When I can, from my perspective, say no, I don't accept free will. Show me that free will exists, and if you're going to resort to the Bible, I could just say that's nonsense, right? Give me something
Right now,
biblical. Give me something that is not the claim that demonstrates the claim. Something
that's not
independent
just
from the claim.
that's not just a claim. Just like for you right now, you can go against God. You are speaking against God.
You keep
That is
making
your own
claims,
free
sir.
will.
You keep
That's not a
making.
claim. How is that a
Yes,
claim
it
when I just
is.
gave you
You
the
keep
answer?
saying I can go against God. Demonstrate that God
That's
exists.
free will itself.
Demonstrate.
That's what you choose to
Sir,
do. If you didn't choose what you to do,
sir,
then you
take a
wouldn't go
relaxing
against
chill
God in the
pill.
first place.
Sir, take a chill pill. Relax. The
No, I'm
issue
not.
is
Oh, sorry if I sound sad. No, I'm not sad.
you have still not demonstrated that your God exists. Right? It's just you're just claiming things after claiming things.
Okay, maybe I should go. Maybe go more scientific sense. We understand how large the universe is, how broad, like the limitlessness of the universe. Correct? Like how expansive the
We don't
universe
know how
is.
big the universe is, sir. We don't know how big it is.
Don't you ever think about how crazy that is? How much we don't understand about the universe?
That
Like
doesn't okay. And no matter how much we don't understand or do understand, it doesn't mean God exists.
then how can you say that God doesn't exist when there's such a vast majority of the universe that we don't know? How we don't know
Okay.
like
Do you
if
understand that this is an argument from incredulity? This is a fallacious argument, right?
how it's a fallacious argument.
You're using your non-understanding to claim that there is understanding, right? Oh, I don't know how big the universe is, therefore God must exist. This is a fallacious reasoning, sir. The problem is that you can't. I could say this for anything I wanted to. If your logic remained, I can say this for Bigfoot. Oh, we don't know how large the universe is, therefore Bigfoot must exist, right? This is fallacious
Well,
reasoning.
well, I can't just say that flying sharks exist because I say so,
Why
because
not?
they
I have a book that says it. Why not? I have a book that says flying
well,
sharks
because
exist.
that book actually has the evidence and actually has knowledge and actually has witnesses of that.
We have witnesses,
People
sir.
and
We have 500 witnesses for the flying sharks.
500 witnesses. I would love to read about that book and try to understand how they saw it and how they actually detail that
Yeah,
experience. Just the
it
Bible
says
and actually
it's all.
detail the
The
experience
book is two
in the
words.
Bible.
It says 500 witnesses, and we saw it. That's it. That's the book. Does that mean it's
Well,
true?
that doesn't give anything. The Bible doesn't just say Jesus died.
The same with your Bible, right? Your Bible also makes claims, just erroneous claims.
If you actually read the Bible and try to understand it, you wouldn't have such a surface level thinking of it and such a judgy way of it
Well,
either.
you keep
You're
saying
just
that,
trying
but
to.
you're not.
You're
You
also
never can
saying it,
demonstrate God.
but you're not even. Have you read the Bible all the way through? Not just saying
If I
that
read it
this.
all the way through or halfway through, it doesn't make it any more true.
Then how can you speak against it when you don't actually understand it?
Because you're not demonstrating it's true at all. You're just saying it's true. That's the issue.
But you're also not giving any evidence that is not true by not trying
Well,
to understand it.
the burden of proof is on you to demonstrate your claim is true. It's not on me to debunk
Which
you.
I have. I gave you multiple answers that I can actually provide you.
Answers are
And I
not
also
evidence.
say that one more time.
Answers aren't evidence necessarily. You want data that is verifiable, testable, repeatable. That's evidence. That would demonstrate your God exists. Not a book, not just words, but data, repeatable, testable, experimentable data.
Well, there's multiple unexplainable things that happen in real life. There's multiple people that go missing that we don't know about. Doesn't mean they don't exist.
It doesn't mean
if we
God
go by
exists,
your
though. I agree, but it doesn't mean that God exists. This is the claim you're making. You have to demonstrate it.
but you're saying it's a surface level thing. Well, actually, like I've said before. Well, trying to understand it. If you actually read the scriptures and you actually read the verses and actually
Okay,
try to
great. Then show me
apply,
what. Then show me, since you have read the Bible, you are a seemingly Bible expert. Go ahead
I'm
and give me the verse that demonstrates God's real. Go ahead. What's the verse that shows God exists? We can't hear you, sir. Are you gonna Google? Hello? We can't hear you, sir. We don't hear you anymore,
Can you hear me now? Okay.
unfortunately. We don't hear you anymore, sir. You've lost connection.
I'm so. Can you not hear me while I read the verse? Oh, God damn it. Okay. I'm trying to read from my phone, but apparently that doesn't work. All right. I'm going to try to repeat what I just said. I can actually find my Bible. Okay.
Imagine he pulls up Exodus 21:7.
I'm pulling Romans 1:20.
Okay. Romans 1:20. God said, "Let there be light," and bam, we just magically appeared. We're still waiting, sir. You can't read while you're watching the phone. You have to like go on a computer or something. We can't hear you when you're on your phone Googling. I don't think this. Do you guys think he gets it yet? Is he catching on yet?
Dang, I can't get you. I'm trying to pull up my phone, but it's not working that way. Damn it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Well, the last.
Come back when you memorize your verse, okay?
All right.
Enjoy.
What's going on?
Hi, how are you? Do you have a
I'm
question?
good. How are you? Yeah. So when we're talking about the creation of everything, obviously. Um, so what do you believe in? I can't remember. I think I've talked to you before, but it's been a while. How do you believe everything was created?
I don't think it was created, sir. I think that there was creation. They screwed up big time. But I don't think that it was created. I think that we perhaps always were. But I don't know for sure. Nobody
So you
does.
don't believe in a beginning at all?
I don't know what a beginning means. I don't know what that even means and I don't see any reason why we must believe it.
Well, I guess that answers that question. My next question would be, um, what's your stance on evolution?
It's a fact of reality. We can see evolution happening.
Can you though?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. So let's say evolution is real, even though it's been debunked in several studies.
Oh, it's been debunked. I'd love to see a study for that.
Yeah. Oh, I'll send them to you. You're never willing to take the information once I get it. I can't send you links through telepath, so.
Or you can just right now on live give me the title of one of the studies. That'd be great.
Oh, sure. Let me just pull up my laptop here and then get accused of Googling. I'm good. You can do that own research on your own. It doesn't take very much time to Google it, but
I don't mind you Googling. I
Darwinism
just
has
want
been
you to.
completely debunked by multiple people.
Well, I'm sorry, sir, but people. Does it matter? It's about science doesn't care about people. Science cares about data.
Sure.
Right.
Data. You talk a lot about data, right? So here's one for you. So data shows that we think that this planet is how old do we think this planet is according to the data that you have researched?
4.5 billion.
4.5 billion. How was that evaluated?
Zircon crystal dating. Isotopes
Okay,
of
sure.
uranium and
So and then the theory that we have just always been here. Where are all the bones?
in the ground that we've dug up.
Oh yeah, all of them. All the if you were to do the math, that would be billions and billions and billions of bones.
Sir, do you know that fossilization is a very rare process?
Did you know that we have found, several? Do you believe the Earth was ever underwater?
What do you mean underwater?
Like the flood. Do you believe that it was ever completely filled and covered by water?
Not in the last 6,000 years. That's for sure.
Interesting, because they've found a lot of sea fossils in the middle of nowhere, in mountains.
Yes, this is because of plate tectonics, right? Those mountaintops were once low-lying areas, but plate tectonics has a way of colliding two plates together, creating a mountain. And so that's why those deposits of those fossils, those sea fossils, could be on mountaintops over many billions of years. That's what this is actually evidence in my favor that the Earth is older than you think.
So you think that's the case? Okay, that makes sense. So, next question: when did they discover all of these findings that the Earth was 4.5 billion years and all these different things?
We're always discovering things about the age of the Earth. We're always refining our understanding. But these experiments have been done for the past 100 years, the early 1900s.
Okay, so that we've been doing that, right? Okay, and do we have any eyewitnesses of any sorts in the past 6,000 years that confirm or deny what you believe in?
So when we do science, we don't need somebody to see it happening. We need some evidence that could correspond to something happening. We need to infer with the evidence. That's what science does.
So would that
need
also
somebody to
cover?
look.
So that also then cover the carbon dated manuscripts of the manuscripts they found from the Bible that all are from separate sources that all have the same message?
Okay, you have a book that says things in a page. Congratulations. Does that demonstrate those pages are real and true?
Question. Would you say that if the Romans, who hated Jesus because he was such a problem for them, and the Jews who loved Jesus that were his disciples, they all say the same thing, and over 500 people have seen him after his resurrection?
And
Wouldn't you think that the
5,000
Romans wouldn't want us to find that out?
5,000 people have seen Elvis after he died. Does that mean Elvis resurrected?
Not necessarily, but the
okay, great. So then just because we have people who claim to have seen this thing, even in a story, doesn't mean that it's true, right? We need more than just this
then another
person
question.
said the thing.
So we're all human beings, and would you say that, let's just say something real quick. So let's just be hypothetical. This is all hypothetical. There's no data. We're just having a little bit of fun here. Let's say you did meet Jesus. He was real, right? And you trusted everything that he said from the Bible. Would you be willing to be publicly murdered and die and be martyred? if you truly believe.
I wouldn't die for anybody except for my family members. I don't care about anybody else because I think that's ridiculous. And I think Jesus, if he did die for me, I think that's stupid too. There's no need for you to die for me. I'm still here. I'm fine. So I think if Jesus died for me, I think that'd be the dumbest thing he could do.
Interesting, because it's just crazy to me that 12 people, all these disciples, they died for spreading what they consider to be the truth. And I don't know many people that would, including yourself and me. It's scary, right? Screw that, right? So you're
Dylan,
saying that
do you understand?
these people died.
Dylan?
These people died spreading the message, and they were like, "Yeah, no, this is just going to be a big fun hoax," and they have evidence of their death.
Dylan, do you understand that people have died for many silly things in the past? The Mayans died for their sun gods. They used to sacrifice themselves and be happy for it because they were going to go to the sun god world. Do you understand that people in the past who were goat herders and farmers, they had no idea that these gods were not real. They thought they were really real. And people believe in all kinds of silly things in the past that they would die for because that's how people were. They were barbaric back then, okay? Number one. Number two, even if these people died, in which we don't have evidence for these disciples dying for Jesus, there's no evidence that they're martyred, except for perhaps Paul. We don't have enough evidence for the rest of them. But even if we did, it would not necessitate the notion that God existed. They could have been wrong about their belief. They could have been incorrect about their belief. So why must you assume that they were correct, that they died for him, and that means Jesus existed and was God? I think that's completely fallacious reasoning.
So you think that the Bible just has absolutely no value in telling what's going on, what's happened in the past?
No truth value. Correct.
Sure. Okay. So, do you read a history book in order to figure out biology?
No, I don't.
Right. And you don't read a biology book to figure out history, but it doesn't mean that neither of them exist.
Okay, I don't see how this is relevant to demonstrating that God exists.
Because just because you don't want to believe what the Bible says does not mean that it isn't true.
It's not that I don't want to believe. I just want evidence that you're not providing us today. Right? You're not giving us enough data to demonstrate God exists.
The evidence is there. You also have to be willing to want to actually look through the evidence.
Okay, great. Then give me the evidence today. Let's hear it.
The Bible. Read it. Try it. Case for Christ by Lee Strobel.
You mean
Read
the book where it says the book where it says donkeys can talk and snakes can talk?
Oh yeah, kind of like our book that said that Bronchiosaurus was a dinosaur, all to find out that the scientists just grabbed a random head and put it on the dinosaur, and then it took us a really long time to figure out that wasn't even a real thing.
Wait, you don't believe in dinosaurs?
Oh no, I believe in dinosaurs, but get this. Scientists, these really smart scientists, made it a very famous Bronchiosaurus and put them all over stamps, all over everything. But the strange part is they found out, oh no, we grabbed a head from some random other dinosaur and put it on this and made this species. And it took a really long time for scientists to figure that out. And it took even longer for them to get us the actual information to the public.
I don't see. Okay, even if that was true, how does this demonstrate Jesus is a God?
You can look it up.
How does this demonstrate God exists?
The point is just because you're not willing to do your due diligence and do your research doesn't make a Bible.
Please, Dylan, I'm asking you I'm asking you to give evidence today.
I have evidence.
Great. What's the evidence in the Bible that God exists? What's the verse?
You don't have to have a single verse. You have to have the whole book.
Okay, what about the book? It demonstrates God. Give me an example.
Everything in the Bible. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Okay, so the verse, words on the page, is evidence of God. So because it says in the beginning, that would to you infer that a God exists?
Yes, absolutely. Something had to have created everything.
Okay. Well, first of all, how about other Bibles, other books out there where this says, in the beginning there was a magic, flying magic monster or something, or the Zoroastrian god or the Buddhist gods, or how did you disclude all those other possibilities?
Again, you got to go back to the manuscripts. You got to go back to paying attention to how many people said
What
the
about
same.
what about your manuscripts demonstrates that your religion's correct out of the other thousands that are not correct to
Because
you?
we predate almost every single other religion that's
No, you
still
don't.
functioning to this day.
Hinduism, sir, I'm sorry, but Buddhism and Hinduism vastly fucking predate your new religion.
Well, it's
Christianity
impossible
is a brand
because
new
my religion, not religion, it's the truth. It predates existence. We are from the beginning. We have evidence from the beginning.
This is your assumption that has not been backed by any data. You're just going yappity yappity yappity. God exists. It's true. But you're not doing the work.
And I'd love to see your data on proving that God doesn't exist. Please show me that.
Okay, no problem.
What's your data?
Is God all powerful?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is God all loving?
Absolutely.
Okay. Does God want everybody to go to heaven?
Absolutely.
Okay. And does God always get what he wants and desires?
Well, I mean, he gave us free will, so he doesn't, because he doesn't get us all in heaven because
No, does God himself get everything he desires?
Well, he's he can. He's all powerful, all knowing, omnipotent, omniscient.
Yes or no, sir? Does God get everything he desires?
I just answered yes. I'm sorry if I used too big of words for you.
The answer is yes?
Yes.
Okay. So God gets everything he desires. Does God desire all of us to go to heaven?
Absolutely. But he also gives us free will.
Okay. Do we all go to heaven?
No, because he gives us free will.
Okay, great. So then if God desires us to go to heaven and he gets everything he desires, it seems to be that he failed at getting us to go to heaven. So
God doesn't fail, man fails. That's the problem. And the problem with what you're gonna say,
free
will is given because true love is free will. God does not force us to love him.
Okay, that's cute, but the problem is that free will does not explain away this thing's problem, because God could have made a world where we all have free will, but all go to heaven, choose freely to go to heaven. Couldn't God have made that world?
No, because man sinned already, and the devil obviously tried to help, deceive the world.
Is it possible that God could have made a world where everybody has free will, but they all the people in that world choose to go to heaven with their free will? Is that possible to you?
Like, are you saying, is it possible for everyone who has free will to get to heaven?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We were all given the same gift of salvation.
Okay, then why didn't God make that world?
He did make that world. It's your choice whether you want to follow love.
You just said
that's not true. That's not free will, though. That's forced.
Dylan, does everybody go to heaven?
Difference. That's where you don't understand what free will is.
Dylan, does everybody go to heaven in this world?
Neve look alike.
Dylan,
listen.
Dylan,
stop saying my name. I'm trying to explain something. So, free will. Do you know what free will is? Versus forced will, forced against your will. Forced against your will would be the world that you're talking right now. Free will is not forcing you to love him and do everything that he wants you to do. It's giving you the choice to do what he wants you to do.
I understand that, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know that God coerced us to believe in and love him. The issue is, God could have made a world, and you just conceded that he could have made a world where everybody has free will and everybody goes to heaven, correct?
No, because he already created that, and we deceived it away.
Could God have made that world?
God can do anything, but he didn't. He made the world.
He made the world. And why did God choose to make the world where people go to hell?
He didn't. He, like I said several times now, I don't know how many times I got a circle talk, but I've already explained that God did create the world perfect, and man deceived.
This is a perfect world. So you think this world's perfect?
It used to be before sin entered.
Who made sin happen?
The deceiver, the devil, and man.
And who made the devil? Who made the devil?
God did, and he did.
Okay,
he left
so
God.
why did God make the devil, knowing that evil would happen?
I don't know. I guess there's some things that I've learned that we're not going to always have the answers to. Just like you don't have every answer to in science,
Ah,
correct?
there you go. There
Oh,
you
you don't have
go.
every
There you
answer in
go. I don't know
science.
why. So to you,
Oh man.
you're gonna play the agnostic card and say, well, there's a reason why God did this, right? Dylan, if tomorrow God came down and started raping people, would you think that's good because God had a reason for that?
Well, God doesn't do that because God is good.
How do you know that? What if God came down
Because he
tomorrow?
says so in his word that you refuse to read.
Dylan, what if God came down tomorrow and started raping people and said, Dylan, I have to do this because I have a plan? Would you accept that as good?
No, because that wouldn't be from God if you read the
Then
Bible.
you cannot play the agnostic card because you just conceded that there is a dividing line between good and bad, and you know it. So you can't say, I don't know anymore. Okay? You know that if an action happened that God did, it would be wrong. So clearly you know what you're doing. So why are you going to play the agnostic card when I ask you the question about God making a world with hell or without hell? Why must you say that there's a reason why God made this world with evil, lots of it?
Like I said, there was no evil, and then there was evil once the deceiver came.
But
And like I said, I didn't have the
you're
answer
not.
to
That doesn't
anything.
address the issue because God could have stopped this from the first place. He could have made the world where everybody goes to heaven.
He did make that world, like I said, and
No, he didn't. Does everybody go to heaven in this world? Does everybody go to heaven in this world?
They can. They have the option to.
No, do they?
No, because people like you
Okay,
refuse
great. So then why
agree.
didn't God make the world where everybody goes to heaven with their free will?
Because that's not free will, that's forced.
They're not forced, sir. They have free will to choose to go to heaven or not. They all choose to go to
Right.
heaven.
You have that right now. You're
Okay.
explaining what we already have. It's so
But we
funny
don't.
that
But we don't
are
live in a
talking about
world.
it.
But we don't live in a world where everybody chooses heaven, right?
Yeah, because
Okay,
you
great.
have free will
So
to
why
choose
did
not to go
God?
to
So
heaven.
why did God make that world, but not? Why did God make this world, but not the other world where there is no hell, where there is nobody going to hell?
Because Satan wanted to rebel against God.
That doesn't answer the question, right? I'm asking you, why did God make this world? Are you saying
Satan
that
rebelled
the
against
devil?
God before that.
Are you saying the devil is necessary?
I mean, he's just part of what happened. Like I said, I don't have the answer for everything.
Yeah,
You don't have the answer
exactly.
for all of
You're
science either.
stumped. Look. This is
You're
exactly the
stumped you on
problem.
science.
This is a great.
I would love to play the same card with you. Do you have everything? Do you know everything about science? You just told me that every single year we're finding new things out and we're wrong
I
constantly,
am not
right?
claiming to know everything about everything.
Okay,
You
and
are.
I'm not
You
claiming to
are.
know everything about everything
Yes,
either.
you are.
So that's an
Because
argument.
Dylan, the first thing you told me was, "I have the Bible, and that's where all the answers are." That's the first thing you told me. You know that God exists. You know that there's a creator in the world out there because you have a book that says it. So apparently, this book has all the answers to literally everything.
Yep, absolutely has pretty much the answers to everything, but also
So
we also know that we aren't gonna.
you're the one claiming to know everything, not me. Okay.
I know everything that I've read. Yes, I know everything that I've explained to you, but also there's things that I don't know.
That doesn't answer the question, though, right? Like, look, I know you're scared. I know you're going, oh, I don't know what to say. What do I say? Oh, science is
At
bad.
all, actually. I think that you're really
Then you would never raise the issue
and
of.
I think that you would actually benefit and be more credible if you weren't so arrogant and smug to people. I think that your information would be a lot more well taken.
The one calling me arrogant is the one who thinks the entire universe was designed for him. Very interesting.
That's what I'm talking about. Those little smirks and laughs.
Very interesting. Very interesting that you think I'm the arrogant one when you literally believe the entire universe was designed so that you could be here on my live. I think that's
what's even more arrogant than that is believing that the entire universe has just always existed and nobody ever created it. That goes against all scientific trains of thought.
Who made God?
Has to have come from something.
Who made God then?
Again, we're going to get to that point. Who made the particle? If he believed in the Big Bang. If we believe, or who created the rest of the world? So we're at a mute point there, and it's just null and void.
So God has no beginning.
No God, he has no beginning, no end.
Okay, then if you're going to say that God has no beginning or end, why can't you just say that the universe has no beginning or end? What's the difference? What's the issue?
Because what makes more logical sense? A omnipotent, all-powerful being that created something, or just a micro piece of nothingness floating around that created everything in vast
That's
expansion?
the false dichotomy that never even raised a nothingness. Look, either God always existed or the universe did. What's more complex? A grain
Which
of
one's more
sand or
logical?
God?
Which one's more logical? An all-powerful divine being, or something that had to have been created, but let's just say it hadn't been created, it was just always
You
here?
don't.
What makes
So,
more sense? Something that came from
so
absolutely
making
nothing?
more sense does not mean it's true. It makes more sense that the Earth is flat to many people. It doesn't make it true. Okay. So making sense doesn't make it true. What does make it true is if there's enough evidence behind it, and we don't have enough evidence either way, for God or not for God. The issue is that it's more parsimonious. It's more simple to simply say the universe always was. You're adding something extra to the equation, which is unnecessary, right? You're adding this uber duper, uber super magical being who made everything who has itself complexities to it. So to me, that's a way less parsimonious position to hold than to just say the universe is necessary. So that's why not only is your idea less parsimonious, but mine is perfectly logical and valid.
Well, listen, it's getting kind of late where I'm at. I appreciate still talking to you regardless, man. All religion and what we believe in aside, I'd sit down with you and have coffee with you tomorrow. I'm sure you're a great person in general. I think we'd actually get along, but I do have to go. So it was nice talking with you. I like having debates. I hope there's like no hard feelings or anything. Appreciate talking to you.
Great, man. Thank you.
You have a good night, man.
Bye. Look, guys, look at how appealing it is to do what the guest did and say, look around you, everything you think this all just came from nothing, right? That's such a natural thing to say. When you don't understand the world around you, you're going to say that. But when you understand science, when you understand, biology and physics and math, and you recognize more and more that you don't need somebody to make these things. That's a very naive thing to believe. We've now replaced that with explanatory models like relativity and physics and quantum mechanics. These do a way better job in explaining our world than just, there's a magic man who did it, right? Magic. That is no longer valid or sound in our society, because anybody can make up those kinds of beliefs. There is a magic beanstalk, a magic avocado, a magic artichoke, a magic banana, a magic penis who poofed us into who came all over the universe, and anybody can make up magic entities. The issue is, how explanatory are you? And theism is not explanatory at all. So, do I have a collage degree? You spelled college wrong. Yes, I do have a college degree in geoscience. Thanks for being here. Why are jellyfish immortal? They're not. It's not that they're immortal. It's that their bodies, their DNA happens to have a specific feature that allows them to generate consistently juvenile cells, which means that our bodies, my cells right now, are producing aged cells. They're malfunctioned cells relative to when I was born. Right? Every time you breathe, you do things, your cells kind of gunk up. Every time your cells replicate, they gunk up. And our DNA doesn't have that specific feature, which enables us to generate these very young cells. But in jellyfish, some of these species, they can generate these very young cells, no matter how old they are. So it's not that they can live forever. It's that they're consistently reproducing healthy cells and giving us the illusion that they can be young forever. But in actuality, jellyfish tend to die because of their prey, or accidents, things like that, or disease. But nothing's truly immortal. See, Mr. Crocodile. Well, yes, I'm not entirely sure about those reptiles, but it has to do with the nervous system, the metabolism, the way their bodies work. It's different than ours. So, what is the purpose of life? I don't ask that question. I have found that asking the question is missing the point. I don't ask, where's my purpose, or what do I get, where's my purpose? I do it. It emanates from me naturally, right? The conversations that I have with people, this live generates purpose. My relationships with my family, that gives purpose, that yields purpose. Learning gives me purpose. I don't ask for it. I just do things, and I recognize purpose in those interactions. So instead of just sitting there going, "Where's my purpose? Why are we here?" I just experience things, and in that process, I see purpose come out of it. So I don't see this as purpose is out there waiting to get to me. I think I am the facilitator for purpose and meaning. We are the ones who facilitate it. And when you and all the worldly things are gone, you believe everything simply ceases. Yeah, I think that the universe will decay, just like everything else, and it will result in something that isn't unrecognizable. So we're here for this moment, this temporary moment in space and time, able to live and experience, and that's amazing. And for me, I don't bask in sadness because we're only here for a little bit of time. To me, the fragility of our existence, the fact that we have very little space and time, is to me making it more important and more valuable, this life. It makes this life more meaningful to me if it's rare and fragile and delicate. And that's why I love life and I cherish it. Even if we're gone one day, I still cherish it today. If you think about it, we are very privileged to be alive, as human beings especially. We are really privileged. And I'll never take it for granted. I'll never take my life for granted. I'll never take my position in this world for granted. It's just too precious to me.